I know there are a lot of different superhero fans out there, just like there are a lot of different Batman fans out there, and everybody has their own favorite when it comes to a live action interpretation or even an animated interpretation of the character. Some are very underrated, some I think people argue are overrated, and I understand that Michael Keaton is one of those ones that a lot of people don't care for. A lot of people look at it and they say, well, he brazenly kills people, you know, it's a very weird vibe. Obviously, when these movies were made, it's not like Tim Burton was a big comic book fan, and I get all of that. I understand, that's not lost on me. But that said, for me, two of the things that got me into this character as a kid were the Michael Keaton Batman and also the Val Kilmer Batman from Batman Forever, obviously later on. So I think it's really interesting to kind of look at recent years and see the sort of renaissance, the sort of comeback of the Michael Keaton Batman, and to see how he has been celebrated in recent years, how he got screen time again, how he's getting novels, comics, all these different things. And I just wanted to take a couple minutes today to talk about that because I genuinely do just think it's fun. It's totally fine if this Batman's not your cup of tea. I'm not here to convince you that he should be, but that said, it's a Batman that's important to me, important to my history with the character, and I think was also, I would say at the very least, instrumental to where modern superhero movies are. So we're going to talk about that for a few minutes today. If you enjoy the video, you want to leave a like, subscribe, let me know your comments down below on all of this. But I did have a question of the day for you, which is, who is your favorite live action Batman? And then I wanted to know who your favorite animated Batman is. If you want to answer one or both of these, I'm interested. Like, for example, Keaton's obviously one of my favorites. I really like most of them, but I think my favorite animated has to be Kevin Conroy, but I think the Peter Weller Dark Knight Returns, or even the Batman played in the Batman animated series, which I forget the actor's name, you can let me know or I'll look it up later, but I thought that he did a really good job too. Also, before we hop fully into it, if you do want to support this channel, we have a Fortnite code, which I will flash here. And also as well, we have our own store, CosmoBunny.shop. Lots of different coasters, keychains, trays, and more from recycled paper. Talk about that at the end. And we recently started an Amazon affiliate link. I have a list of DC products there, Marvel, all kinds of stuff. Any purchase goes to help support our channel, but we'll hop right past that and talk about it later. Now, what actually made me think of this is kind of looking back at my childhood and the movies that I grew up with, which I am a 90s kid, and while 89 with Michael Keaton came out, you know, before I came out, it is still one of those movies that was actually played over and over on TV growing up, just on basic television channels here in the United States. So it's one of those things that, along with Forever, I noticed that 1989 and Forever, they got a lot of circulation on television here in the States. I think that's really how I got access to Batman as a kid. Like, my family was not very well off. We didn't even have cable when I was growing up until much later. So for me, my access to these characters was kind of limited. I would go to the library, I would check out graphic novels, I would watch on TV, and when there were Saturday morning cartoons, I would watch those. When they would play one of these movies on TV, I would be there, watching, waiting in the commercial breaks with anticipation. And this came to my attention thinking about this because I was thinking about all these characters that mattered so much to me, like these Batmen, like the Hugh Jackman Wolverine, like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. And while all of these characters are not some one-to-one adaptation of the comics, some of them far less than others, I do think they were very important because they paved the way for later superhero movies. I think it's one reason why they're still so celebrated today. Now, recently there was an announcement that another Batman novel is coming out, which is Batman Revolution, and this is actually following the story of Batman Resurrection. So essentially, Batman Resurrection took place between 1989 and Batman Returns, and now Batman Revolution is actually taking place after that, but before Returns. So it's kind of like you have 1989, and then you have these two novels, and then Returns. Then I believe after that is when some of those comic books take place. It's kind of like they take place at different points though, because they're actually doing Michael Keaton comics. They've been doing them for a while. They did the 89 comics, and then they did Echoes, which I believe was after Returns. So the timeline's kind of all over the place for the 1989 Batman. But I thought it was interesting to look at the fact that this is a character that has had such a resurgence in recent years. So you've got one novel already out, you've got another novel coming out, you've got a graphic novel or two already out, and some of these are on that Amazon affiliate link, by the way, that I told you about. I'm going to leave those there on that list because I think they're cool. But then you also have this novel that's coming out, which is actually about the Riddler. So this is taking a look at what if Batman Forever hadn't really happened, right? And that's kind of how they play this continuity in general, is just the Michael Keaton Batman is the Michael Keaton Batman. In the past, the way the Batman anthology played it was kind of like 89, Returns, Forever, Batman and Robin, and they acted like they were all in the same continuity, but they've kind of retroactively gone back and just acted like there's a timeline split after Returns, and the Michael Keaton stuff that's come back is pre-split or post-split, but without Kilmer. Essentially the idea that it is just that actor version of Batman because so many grew up with him. When looking at the synopsis for this book too, I think it's interesting because it's taking the ideas of the Riddler and putting them into that Tim Burton continuity. With the synopsis reading, it's summer and Gotham City has cause for celebration. The last vestiges of the Joker's toxic legacy have finally faded, just in time for the mayor to partner with retail magnate Max Schreck to stage a 4th of July celebration for the ages. But not everyone is rejoicing. Batman's eternal vigilance continues as threats from rival gangs and masked criminals escalate by the day. Meanwhile, in the streets, protests grow in opposition to the city's lavish excesses. The description continues, no one is experiencing the struggle between Gotham's optimism and doubt more than Norman Pincus, the Gotham Globe's humble copy boy. He's the unacknowledged mastermind behind the newspaper's mega-popular Riddle Me This word puzzles. But Norman harbors a secret. He is the smartest man in Gotham City, using his prodigious skills to solve crimes anonymously for years via the police tip line, before Batman even knows there's a crime to solve. While neither fame nor fortune finds Norman, he believes in the promise of Gotham and what's right, until he doesn't. The man no one notices watches time and time again as the city and its leaders cast their eyes high above the rooftops towards Batman. Dejected and unappreciated, Norman devises a new scheme. With the help of a dangerous new friends, he exploits the simmering tensions of the long hot summer to draw the Caped Crusader into a volatile game of riddles to crown Gotham's true savior. As they clash, Norman, now known as the Riddler, and Batman will uncover hidden secrets about Gotham's past that will have dire consequences for the city's future. So I thought this was kind of interesting and fun, and it's basically taking a look at Gotham. The creator talked about this, Jackson Miller, during the 4th of July, kind of continuing this idea of seeing Gotham in these various stages of the year, or at least the 89 Tim Burton universe Gotham. Now, this is not the only time it's come back. I already mentioned the comics. You know, this was a Batman that mattered enough to get a official costume in Rocksteady's Batman Arkham Knight. This is a character that was brought back for the Flash film. Now, how you view his inclusion in that is totally up to you. Obviously, with that movie, it's sort of like a revised DCEU timeline, like a revised Snyderverse type timeline, where with that film, it is the Keaton Batman, at least for a while, but the idea is essentially that Barry changed the past, and then Batman's past changed as well because of it. Like, it retroactively almost merged timelines. It almost merged that 89 universe with the DCEU and kind of created this new fresh timeline that things are happening during the Flash movie. But that said, regardless of how you view it from a continuity standpoint, with the end of the film, like, you can view it as that version of Batman is maybe still out there, or that timeline totally ended, or the 89 universe split off again. However you view it, I think it's cool to see that people cared enough about that version of Batman that even though that film didn't do that well, two of the highlights of the film were Supergirl and Batman. Pretty much everybody who saw it talked positively about those elements. And that's kind of neat to me to see how that nostalgia hit with people. And it's not just nostalgia, but I do think a lot of it is. You know, when you're looking at this Batman, as cool as he is, as amazing as the music is, as amazing as the set pieces are, as immaculate as the vibes are around him, it's not like, it's not like he's a comic book Batman one for one. I mean, he is now, in the sense that they made a lot of comic books in that continuity off of them, other than just the original movie adaptations of the past. But it's not like he's a Batman who adheres to the no killing policy. It's not like he's a Batman who adheres to the strict fundamental rules of the comic books or anything like that. He kind of goes his own way. But you look back at the history of this character, and from Happy Meal toys and McDonald's integrations all the way down to early Batman mainstream games, to the insane marketing ploys of '89 and Returns, to modern day enjoyment of the character, he was kind of a gateway for a lot of people to get into it. And that's why I think it's so special to see these returns, to see this actor come back in the flesh. It's kind of like a tongue twister. To see these what if scenarios. You know, what if instead of getting Forever, the Riddler was in that universe? Obviously, you could have just reworked Forever. You know, you could rework the script and write it down, and on paper, it could just be that Michael Keaton Batman. But they didn't decide to go that direction. They decided to tell a brand new story with the Riddler in that 1989 universe. Even going back as far as something like the CW Crisis on Infinite Earths, they were bringing back this Batman. You know, they were not like, they didn't show him, but they alluded to him, showing things like newspaper clippings and stuff like that when they flashed through the multiverse. I mean, this is a Batman that has come back time and time again and kind of stood that test of time in a very different way too, but similar to one of my other favorite Batmen, which is the DCEU Batman. Now that Batman is much more comic book oriented, I would say much more fantastical, and I would argue overall in terms of writing quality, better. But these two in general, they really did inspire each other in some ways. You know, the Batman the Animated Series was heavily inspired by the Michael Keaton universe with its music, if you listen to it, its Batmobile design, some of the gothic architecture and structure and vibes around Gotham, heavily inspired by that. But even now, I don't think that this 1989 Batman would have come back if the Batman the Animated Series adaptation hadn't made it so big. You know, where it kept propelling that character forward on screen into more and more adaptations, kind of like the live action actors did. And it's interesting for me to look at it and see new stories still coming out with this Batman. To see this childhood window almost into my past with the character and a lot of people's past with the character still existing to this day, still getting new stories, even as Michael Keaton himself ages and we all age, in a way this character didn't. In a way this character remained timeless on the page, whether it be the comics, whether it be the old video games, whether it be those movies that are preserved, you know, whether it be the skin in Arkham Knight, all of these different things, even these novels. There's still that magic around him, and I find it fascinating to look at and to see that they're still creating stories for him. So I'm interested to hear what you think in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, you want to leave a like, subscribe, let me know your thoughts. We have a Fortnite code, we have our Amazon link. Obviously there's a lot of stuff there with different DC products, things like that. We do make a commission on that if you buy something. And of course, my favorite, we have our store, CosmoBunny.shop. You like comics, you like manga, you like magazines, any of this stuff, pop culture, we take that stuff. We take damaged books, comics, magazines, all that stuff. We turn it into new transformative art in a new medium as resin pieces, coasters, keychains, trays, and more. And even, we're going to be at 2 events this year. That is right, clock it, 2. Both of them are going to be in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. And one of them is for a MS D&D event, basically surrounding multiple sclerosis. I probably said that wrong. It's a charity event for Dungeons and Dragons. There's going to be all kinds of pop culture stuff there, though. People selling different things. We are going to be vendors there, and we are also planning to be vendors later on at a sort of Comic-Con meetup type thing in Eau Claire as well. So I would love to see you at those 2 things. We always discount our items in real life, even cheaper than the website, but if you're not able to make it, you want a discount, DJAY123, 10% off your first purchase over there. We appreciate you. Online, I should say. Have a fantastic day. And as always, everyone, stay shui.